a few weeks ago, I decided the only way to knock back the grass in my arborvitae hedge was to put cardboard down. And so because I did that, I had to dig up all of these daylilies and find a new home for them. I've already gone through a bunch of them. I have a couple black crates and a wheelbarrow back there full of daylilies that I have bare rooted. I've removed all of the soil and all of any weeds that were in the roots off of the roots. That way I know when I replant these, they will be weed free and go into clean soil. I have a large section back here behind my pine trees. It's part shade, part sun, but daylilies can handle a little bit of shade, and so I think I'm going to fill that in, and then whatever's left, fill in up here in front, in the front area of the pine trees. And so hopefully these take daylilies. Daylilies can handle just about anything. And the story of these is actually a really good one. I spend a lot of time on Facebook Marketplace, and one time I came upon a listing that said 2 acres of plants, $5. And I got a hold of the guy and I said, what kind of plants do you have? Like, what are you getting rid of? And he told me that he bought a property that used to belong to a daylily breeder. She had daylilies all over the property, under all of the trees, in the backyard, the front yard, gardens, everywhere. And she used to breed these. And, well, him and his family just weren't really gardeners, and they didn't want flowers around the property. What they really needed was grass. They had young kids, and they wanted some space for them to be able to run around. And so all he wanted was $5, for someone to come dig up plants on the property, which makes a lot of sense because he didn't just want anyone to come out. And so he just charged a nominal fee to be able to get onto the land. And I think I went back, 4 or 5 times. I ended up taking them some gift certificates for some restaurants and some various stuff to kind of help pay for what I was getting out of this. Because we were both benefiting. I was benefiting significantly by getting lots and lots of free plants, and he was benefiting by having someone take these plants that he had been mowing off since they bought the property, and giving them a new home. And so I brought them home, probably 4 or 5 vehicles full of Rubbermaid containers and 5-gallon buckets full of daylilies and bee balm and all kinds of other plants. And initially the thought was, we don't know what colors these are. We don't know if they're red, orange, yellow, pink, if they're bearded, if they have teeth, what kind of daylilies these might be. Are they early, mid, late blooming daylilies? And so I had a little bit of space down by my arborvitae hedge, and so I just planted that in completely with all of these plants. And 99% of these plants were true bred daylilies. There were a few of the orange, the typical, what most people think of when you say daylily, of the orange daylilies. And I spent the first few years kind of weeding those out and digging those out of the large, massive plants. After that, I really started going through and giving away to friends and family and neighbors and everyone else all of the daylilies that just weren't my style. And so I kind of narrowed down what I had just to the daylilies that I really, really loved. And I just kind of let those grow on until I started to have such a significant problem with grass in that area of the property that the only solution was to dig everything up, put cardboard down, and try and smother the grass and move on from it. And so all of these needed a new home. So this one Facebook Marketplace post served, dozens of people at this point in time. I have a neighbor that at the same point in time when we dug those, we filled his entire property with daylilies, and he's just over the moon. He absolutely loves having them bloom every single year. And is just ecstatic about the whole situation. And so daylilies themselves can take some shade. They really prefer a full sun environment, but they really can accept kind of some shade in the day. And that's really great because it means you can plant them in almost any type of environment. I mentioned earlier that daylilies bloom early, mid, or late. And that's true. So depending on how the daylily is bred and what the 2 parents are of the daylily, that particular plant is either going to bloom early, so early in the daylily season, sometime in June. Usually my early daylilies kick off, And then from there, you're going to have mids and lates. So it's just like having a daffodil or any other type of red flower that's going to have multiple blooming seasons. And so daylilies have that. Most of the ones here are not reblooming. So your reblooming daylilies are something like your stellas, the ones that you see in, mass plantings in public areas, parks, shopping malls, things like that. Those are really the true reblooming daylilies. And these particular plants that I have bloom once, and they're done for the season. The other thing that really kind of sets some of these plants apart is that daylilies have a height to them. So you have short daylilies, you have tall daylilies. They're classified based upon a couple of those features, right? So early, mid, late, the height of the bloom stalk. On the scape, how many buds does the scape have? Does it have 4 blooms on each flower stalk that comes up, or does it have 10? The size of the bloom. The plants here vary from, I would say, about a 3-inch bloom. I have something that's similar to a grapeette, which is a small purple daylily. It's not actually a grapeette. I can tell that based upon the bloom itself. But these bloom anywhere from 3 inches up to, I would say, maybe 7 inches. And so just super beautiful. And I'm really hoping that I didn't leave these out too long. They can handle a lot, but these daylilies probably sat in wheelbarrows for a couple weeks before I got around to removing all of the dirt and being ready to put them back into the ground. Life and the amount of time that I had available to devote to this project. And so it's been super, super dry here this spring. I am going to have to irrigate and water this area a lot, almost daily, to try and make sure that there's enough moisture that goes into the ground to feed these plants so that they can set down roots and really start to be comfortable in their new home. If daylilies are something that interests you, there's a lot of ways to go about them. You can get them the same way that I got this batch. You can find them on Facebook Marketplace for free or sometimes for a really low cost. There's also local master gardener groups who often have sales of perennial plants, and daylilies are included in those. One of my most favorite, and it's probably going to be the most spendy of your options to invest into daylilies, is going to be a local daylily society. And so we have a daylily society around here. They have their sale usually in the August timeframe. And when I say spendy, I would say that the daylilies at that sale range from maybe $5 on the super prolific common daylilies up to maybe $40. And that $40 price point is going to get you like one root, something that I showed earlier. But the daylily that you're going to get from that particular sale is going to have some really interesting, cool characteristics. It might have teeth around the edge of the daylily. It's one of my favorite characteristics to look for. It might have what the daylily societies call a beard, which is down the center of the flower petal. There's going to be like ruffling, almost like I wish I could say it. Almost maybe like you would see in an iris or something. You know how an iris would have almost looks like little hairs coming down the flower petal. And so a lot of them have super cool characteristics like that. They're going to be, maybe they're ruffled or they're doubled, or they have a large petal count to go with them. Maybe they're a unique color. Sometimes the ones that are almost black or have really cool marbling to the bloom itself are going to be more spendy. So once you get into the kind of the daylily family, I would call it, you can kind of get pretty deep. It's the same thing with hostas. People say, oh, that's a really cool hosta. And you're just like, okay, well, do you want a split of it? Let me get you a chunk of the plant and you can take it home with you. And when you start to learn about hostas in the same way as daylilies, you start to learn that they're these super cool plants and they're just amazing. And you start to want more and more of these unique plants in your garden. And they're also really, really good talking points. So I'll be out in the front garden and people will be walking by and stop me and to just say like, what is this plant? Like, I've never seen a bloom that looks like this. And so that's a cool place. There's also a daylily auction online where you can actually buy daylily seeds. And so breeders will breed a plant. There's some technical terms about which plants can breed into each other. But effectively, you can breed the plant, and then after the flower is done blooming, it will develop a seed head. And so quite often when you grow plants and you have, I honestly, anything, I think most often of daffodils and tulips where you snap off the flower head, you deadhead the flower because otherwise it's going to develop a seed head. A daylily is the same way. And a lot of times you have to breed it yourself. The pollinators will do it for you and a seed head will develop. And you just need to wait for that seed head to start to crack, and then you know that the seeds are fully developed and dried out. And you can save those and just cold stratify them in your refrigerator in some wet sand until you are ready to start them. You would start them just like you would any other spring seed that you're planting. Start it in some nice moist soil, put a humidity dome over it, and just wait for the plant to grow up. When starting a daylily from seed, you're probably not going to get a bloom until year 3, but a lot of times those blooms are worth the wait. And I have some of those in my garden that I've started from seed, and I really, really enjoy them coming up every year. They're very unique blooms. And so I guess I just really want to bring everyone into the daylily world and how beautiful some of these flowers can be. They get a bad rap because most people think that they're only the orange bloom, but they're not. They're so much more than that, and they're beautiful. And on top of that, people just think of them as, you see them in commercial settings. And I want to dispel that myth. You can have them. You should have them. They are absolutely beautiful. Everyone should get their hands on one of these plants. Whether you get it from a local gardener and you just approach them and tell them that their plant is beautiful and maybe they'll offer you some of it. Or maybe you go into one of the Master Gardener sales or a Daylily Society sale and you pick something for yourself. But get your hands on some daylilies today. Put some in your garden. Enjoy them. Talk about them. People will marvel at them and ask you where you picked up that plant and what you can tell them about it. Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.